Hey guys, it's Winnie. This content is for informational and educational purposes only. It does not constitute for medical or mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment, nor does it establish therapeutic relationships. If you are in crisis, experiencing thoughts of self harm, please call 911 or your local emergency number.
90 wildflower, still blooming even when the days feel darker. Yeah. 90 wildflower, talking life, talking truth, taking it slower. Let it grow. 90 wildflower.
Hey everyone, my name is Nadine. I'm a licensed therapist. So glad that you're here. I have two friends with me, Ash and Britt. We wanted to give you guys a space to just take a moment, slow down, think about, how things are going in your life. No expectation. Just be with us. You don't have to be anything other than exactly where you are right now. Before we start, I do want to share that, yes, I am a therapist. This isn't therapy or a substitute for it. Again, just a space for reflection, awareness, some honest conversation. We're going to be talking about different things tonight. Our main topic will be triggers. Obviously, they do show up in our relationships, our emotional patterns, how we heal, sometimes how we don't, and the different ways that our experiences shape how we show up day to day. So please take a breath, settle in, and just allow yourself to be present. Let's get started.
Hey, party people. My name is Britt, tuning in all the way from Canada, Toronto to be exact. And, as always, I'm so excited to be part of the 90s Wildflower family. I'm always here for the real talk, the good vibes, and usually the good music. But today, we're going to be keeping it real and keeping it honest. And I can't wait to connect with you all to share and grow through this session. But I have a friend today who is new on the podcast, and I would like her to introduce herself. Ash, tell them about yourself.
Hey guys, I'm Ash. I'm from Brooklyn and Queens, and I'm super excited to be joining the 9WF family. I can't wait to talk about some real shit and connect with everybody. And I'm super excited to join the family. So thank you guys for welcoming me.
Yes. Oh, Nadine, can you tell us what we're going to be talking about today?
So I mentioned triggers earlier, and I figured if it's cool with you guys, we'll chop it up tonight about that. A lot of people do seem to get triggered, whether it's friends, family, partner, at work. And so I guess one of the things I thought of is, usually whatever we get triggered by is attached to whatever wounds we got in childhood. So if it's cool, I want you guys to take a second. Think about the different things that trigger you in your everyday life. And again, I want you to think about is it your family, maybe a specific family member that gets to you, or your partner or your boss? What do you guys notice trigger you?
Everyone. Yeah, I think a trigger could just come from anyone. It's just what's being said at the moment. And I feel like it's what's just being said at the moment.
But I also think it can be deep rooted, because a trigger doesn't come out, in my opinion, it doesn't really come from out of the blue from nowhere, right? It has to be deep rooted into something, right?
And I just stems from something, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like sometimes it could be family, right? And that's where my trigger lay. Nobody can trigger me like my family, especially my mother and father. Ooh,
yeah.
Ooh, all right. What about them triggers you? What is it?
I think, to keep it very transparent, my dad wasn't in my life. And I wasn't raised with him. So I know when somebody makes a comment I find that when that, my triggers show up in relationships, especially because I wasn't raised by my father. So sometimes when somebody makes a comment, anything along the nature of how I communicate or me being a bit too quote unquote aggressive, that triggers me because I feel like you're taking a stab at my childhood that I really didn't have I didn't really have a say in how I was raised or in my upbringing. So that kind of can get me a bit cross. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the reason why it triggers us is because like we care about what's being said and also like who it's coming from. Cause I noticed and like, yeah, people in the outside could trigger me, but I know how to control it. So there'll be times where I'll just let it, just brush it off and it is what it is. But if it's coming from a partner or like again a family member, whether it's my parents or somebody that I really care about it, like I really care about and their opinion and stuff like that, it is gonna trigger me because I care about how they think and how they view me and again what's being said. So it's always, I feel like that's where it comes from because it's like, I guess like it's different because again, even if it comes from somebody we don't know, like, we were just talking about earlier, like if it's from, a teacher or somebody from a school when it comes to your child, yeah, you don't really know them. But then again, the touchy subject is your child. You get what I'm saying? Like this is who, don't touch the cub, So that's where the trigger comes from in that sense, like you get overprotective. So I feel like it could be so many different things. It branches off to so many different things, but really it to me, I feel like it just stems from like just us caring about, who's saying it and what it's about.
Mm. All right. So I totally hear you. My thing is, whenever we do get triggered, we got to get curious what about that is triggering us. So, for example,
Right.
all right, to go to your example, all right, someone says something about your kid.
Mhm.
Well, for parents, obviously, like nobody wants to be criticized as a parent, right? But sometimes, like, we have to dig a little bit deeper. So, like, I don't know, a teacher says your kid is like too talkative. Well, were you talkative when you were a kid and were you like shamed for it?
Right.
Like when I say a lot of our triggers go back to wounds that we got in childhood.
Yeah.
It's not always our parents. A lot of times for a lot of people, even things that our teachers or like a school principal or something said to us can be really triggering. Or like a family member, if you had a family member who like shamed you, like, oh, you're such, you're so talkative, oh, you never shut up, blah blah blah. There's so many things that adults say to kids that
Yeah.
become like what we think of ourselves. So yeah, I want you to think about like the different triggers that show up, and then I want you to get like curious about it, like what's coming up for you when that happens. Is it shame? Is it guilt? Is it judgment? Is it anger?
Yeah.
Like what is it tied to?
Right. No, definitely. I feel like, again, like you said, it could be so many different things. It could just branch off to so many different things because sometimes, like, it depends on what's being said. So now, if it's something like, again, like you said, oh, you're being too talkative. Like, okay, that could stem from, oh, my parents used to always tell me, oh, be quiet all the time, So I feel like it could branch off to so many different things. Like you said, so many different emotions about as far as guilt, like embarrassment or just different things. I feel like it's so many different branches. It could just branch off to so many different things.
Sure. And then what makes it complicated though is that all of us carry different wounds to different degrees of healing, so to speak. And so I can say something to you and then you could interpret it completely different than how I intend it.
Mhm.
But it's because it's being heard through whatever unhealed wound you have.
Right.
I mean, I know for me, like one of my big triggers when I feel like I'm not being heard, I think not just me, a lot of people, like it gets very frustrating. And when you think about how many times we don't listen to kids, like part of why kids get so frustrated is because, adults don't always listen to them. And so how many of us didn't really, didn't feel like we were heard when we were kids. And then part of why we get so frustrated as adults is because, like, yes, it triggers that wound of not feeling heard.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely would agree with that. I feel like it does come from a lot when we're kids because, when you're a child, you're being shaped. So as you're getting older, you're shaping, yourself and you're getting to know yourself. So when other people are sitting there and they're telling you certain things, you soak that in differently because you're a child. So you're just going off of yourself. And then what ends up happening is as, you get older, it does end up still sticking with you, especially if anybody criticized you or anything like that. Like I know like one of mine is just criticism. And that's only because like I can't like I'm a very perfectionist person. Like I like to have things like a certain way and be a certain way. So but then again, I know that stems from my upbringing because my parents were a certain way. So it's like when they will criticize me, oh, you're doing a little too much of this or that, it will kind of trigger me like, okay, well, this is how I am. Like, why you want me to be any different?
And then when you think about it, like how many of us, our parents, had so much unhealed shit from their parents and like whatever guilt or shame they
Right.
got, then they go and they give to us.
Yeah. A lot of the times it's so crazy because I've talked to a lot of my friends and sometimes they'll discuss like topics of what they're going through in their personal life with their parents, and I'll sit there and I'll say, but hey, you never know how they were brought up, because this comes from a lot of generational things too. So sometimes, yeah, they have a problem with this, but you don't know if their parents were like that also and if they even learned that. Because a lot of the times, like, we don't notice, but when we do talk about certain things, a lot of people haven't like experienced everything that, everybody else experienced.
Sure.
And right. So it's kind of like, wait, so your parents weren't like that? Oh, so you wasn't, so they never told you this? Like, it does happen that way. And sometimes it's just like, well, their parents probably didn't teach them and their parents probably didn't teach them. And, you need to change that. You need to like, steer different and teach your kids differently. So I feel like when it comes to things like that, um, it definitely is, like I said, it definitely is that, because you go from not knowing to then realizing that this is a problem, or I didn't have this in my life. And then you talk to other people and it's like they had it. And it's like, wow, I wasn't even taught that. Like,
Sure.
yeah.
Sure. Oh, thanks for bringing that up, because that brings up one of the biggest things that I like to teach people is two things can be true at the same time. And a lot of us, we do tell ourselves like, well, my parent did the best that they could.
Right.
That is very true, right? Although some people might argue, but we'll put that shit to the side for a moment. But simultaneously, what is also true is there are a lot of ways that like our parents fell short. And
Yeah.
how much of that wasn't their fault? Because yes, like whatever shit they didn't know, whatever they did not get taught, then boom, they did not have that shit to teach us.
Yeah.
And so, I notice a lot of people get really fucking uncomfortable around like confrontation, how to quote unquote like fight fair. And so
Yeah.
you'll see people avoiding having difficult conversations because they don't feel confident having them. They don't feel like they have the skill set. But yeah, if our parents didn't teach us that, then boom, we get to go learn that on our own.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so important to really fight it, because it's funny that you bring up confrontation, because that can be a trigger. That was a trigger for me, and it was a trigger for, one of my parents as well, right? Like they were raised not to confront, their parents because it was a sign of disrespect, right?
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
and as as you are raised in a similar type of way, and it kind of, I find that, when you start to, raise in that type of mentality, I find that you can slowly turn yourself off, and it's a fine line between just emotional dismissiveness,
Yeah.
and I just find that it affects you so much more. And that's why the fight to really fight against not only the mentality or the upbringing of such generational triggers or traumas, but
Yeah.
to do better. It's always a fight, and that's why I find it's a bit even important to fight through it. But it's always
Yeah.
frustrating. I always found it frustrating.
Yeah. Definitely. I feel like you could either like go with it or go against it. And what I mean by that is, and I say this because I experienced it myself, where we get, like you said, growing up, especially, old school ways, you don't talk about anything. You sweep it under the rug and you just go on with it like nothing ever happened, even though a big fight, broke out, or a confrontation or anything like that, you just don't talk about it. Nobody sits there and talks about it or asks why, or anything like that. So you could either go with it or go against it. And honestly, like, growing up, I was kind of like the little rebellion, I'm kind of like the black sheep a little bit. So I will always go against it. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure a lot of us are, but I will always go against it, like, like, nah, we're not doing that. We're not cutting it short. We're not doing none of that. We're gonna sit here and talk about it. Like, why did this happen? And why do I have to do it this way? And why is it whatever you say? Because that's not right. It's not whatever you say. It's not just because you said it. Like, give me a reason why. And
As scary as that is, that must feel so liberating. It must feel so liberating. You know what I mean? When you start to question the status quo and
yeah,
question, you know what I mean? Because I remember
yeah,
being so scared to act on, like, there's things that obviously trigger me, but to act on those and fight against it when you can finally find your voice and really
yeah,
question the status quo, it feels good and feels
it
so
does.
amazing.
But I feel
Yeah.
like it's because you get tired of staying quiet, and it just builds up in you. Like, that anger just starts building up in you. And it's just like, no, I'm tired of this already. I'm tired of staying quiet. I'm tired of just like sweeping it on the rug. Like, are we going to address the elephant in the room, or like, who's going to do it? Me, you, or is that going to be you? So it's definitely going to be me. Like, what's up? What's going on? This is how I feel, and I'm tired of it, because that anger is like, it builds up in you. It's like like you're a ticking time bomb. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The fuse is going short, and I'm about to blow up. Like, come on, let's get it together, guys.
No, but thank you for bringing up the anger. So to me, getting angry like that, that's like the first like sign, like ding, 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 ding. Oh, we have been triggered. And
Right.
so to like ask yourself why, like, okay, like not to sound super, super like a therapist, but like, what is coming up for me right now? Why am I this fucking angry? And
Yeah.
and to me, if you can at least like figure that part out,
Mhm.
to at least acknowledge, because how many of us have been conditioned in our families to ignore how we feel or swallow how we
Yeah,
feel?
that's what I'm
Right
saying.
here.
Yeah.
Sweep it under the rug. Sweep it
Yes.
under the rug. We do not see it.
Yes.
It's
Like,
messy, but lift it up.
yes.
No.
Yes. So you
Yeah.
say elephant in the room. In my family, you could have a whole herd of elephants, and we're all just like, what elephant? You see elephants?
Right. That's what I'm
No,
saying.
bitch,
Right.
there's no
We don't see
elephants up
it.
in here. No.
Right.
No, it's your imagination. It's like, no, the fuck, it's not.
Uh-huh. He's right there.
Oh,
He's big as shit.
yes. So if we can at least like notice, like, ooh, I'm starting to get angry. But then here's a problem. I don't know if you guys have seen this lately, where you say like, yeah, doing the work, working on yourself only works if you are working with other people who've also done the work on themselves. And how many of our families have never been to therapy?
No. And
No.
won't go.
Yeah,
No.
no. And they don't believe in that. They don't
Nope.
believe in that. No.
No, I'm going to
There's
make a
nothing wrong with
t-shirt.
them.
No, I'm going to make a t-shirt that says I go to therapy because the people in my family will not go to therapy.
I'm buying it. I'll buy it.
Me
Like,
too. Me too.
I'm just going to do that.
Definitely. Because
Yeah.
to them, there's nothing wrong. They're
Yes.
amazing. They're perfect. Yeah, no, they're stuck in.
Yeah.
But you know what that is? That's being stuck in their ways. And that's because they haven't done the work. They don't want to, they don't want to do the work. They're like, listen, this is what it is. You're going to take me how it is. And that's it. Take it or leave it. And
Yes.
it's like sometimes when it's like that, though, they don't understand that it affects us. It does. It affects us.
Yes.
It's like, come on, like, no, you can't be, it's affecting me. Do you care enough to notice that it affects me to want to change so that we can have a better, relationship and better understanding with each other and making it work so we don't, have problems or clash or anything,
That's true.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I feel like that deepens with that too, because like you said, if they don't do the work, then it's kind of like, hey, listen, you're unhealed and I'm healed over here, and we're just something's gonna happen over here. You're going to try to sweep that under the rug, and I'm going to say, hey, we got to throw that out. What are you doing there?
Yes. But then, so like, if we can at least know what our triggers are, okay, even if we're not able to change the dynamic in the family, you know, for our own peace, for our own like sense of self, even one, to like identify what the triggers are, and then two, yeah, okay, what options do we have if the other person who is triggering us, I'm not going to name names today, if that other person, you know, is not willing to change, what we can at least do. So, for example, going back to what you said earlier, you know, being told like, I don't know, like you're too talkative. All right, what's coming up? Oh, the shame I got, you know, I felt when I was a kid. You know, we can make a choice internally to go, ooh, yeah, there was nothing wrong with being talkative when I was a kid. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't have to continue carrying that shame. So part of it is like adult us, yes, like connecting with like a younger version of ourselves and basically saying like, yep, we can put that shame down now.
Yeah, because now I'm an adult and I can do whatever I want. And whoever doesn't like it, who cares? No,
So
but yeah.
Do you think a trigger can ever be permanently removed? Like, is a trigger something that can be just removed, or is it just something that we learn to live with?
I think it can happen both ways. I think sometimes what used to bother us, what used to hurt us, you know, you take the power away from that. So, for example, like, see, I'm trying so hard not to name names. La, 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 la. All right. My mom has been gone for 22 years. So I'll use an old example from her. When I was a kid, she used to tell me I'm selfish. And, you know, when you're a kid and your mom says that to you, you really internalize that and go, oh my God, like I'm so selfish. And you believe that because your mom said so.
Right.
And so I had a lot of shame around like, oh, I'm a selfish person. And then I got older and I was like, wait a minute. Hold up. I gave too much to too many people.
Right.
I let these motherfuckers drain me. Selfish. I should have been selfish.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. It came from somebody that you really cared about the opinion. Remember when we was talking about that? Like, that's because it's your mom. And it's like, oh, hold on. Like, you feel that because it's somebody you care about that's telling you. But then as you get older, it's like, well, you know what? I'm going to change that. So, what's really the question, like, especially when it comes to stuff like that, is does those triggers and those, like, what you call that, like, people saying, like, criticizing like that, you think that it helps you though later on in life? Because like you said, right now, you as an adult, you said, wait, I helped a lot of people, like, but then again, maybe that stems from your mom telling you that. And you being like, well, you know what? I'm selfish. No, I'm not selfish. You know what? I'm not going to be a selfish person. Now I'm going to start helping out. I'm going to start looking out for this one. I'm going to start doing this one. So in a way, like, is it a good thing or is it a bad thing?
I see what you mean by that. I see what you mean by that, actually, because I got, like, growing up, you talk too much. You talk too much. Brittany talks too much in class. But I'm like, is it really a bad thing? Because
now you're on a podcast talking to
exactly. Talk that.
Right. So you see, the negative can actually turn into a positive.
Yeah.
So this is all of, is it really a bad thing? I mean, I think it depends maybe on what it is, but I feel like that shapes us as we get older. I really think it does in a positive way. We could take that negative and switch it to a positive.
So that's actually called a creative adjustment, where you take something and basically like shift it and kind of like turn into a positive weapon, if you will. You know, you learn to take it on as a strength. And so, for example, being told like you're talkative, which by the way, we only say that to little girls. But anywho, let me not get on my feminist soapbox today. It's early.
Leave that for another time.
That could be another podcast.
Right.
But no, really taking that and going, oh, so what I'm hearing is like, I'm actually really good at talking. Like, cool. And how many people do we know are not very good at talking / communicating?
A
But
lot.
anyway.
A lot of people.
Usually the
So-
people that are telling us that we talk too much.
Man. And
Not
some
naming
people
names.
aren't good at communicating.
Well,
Mhm.
So
call it.
I like to call it the great unlearning, where like you now as an adult really sit and go, what is actually mine and what was like programmed or conditioned for me, especially when I was younger and a kid and, you know, didn't have like, you know, the ability to really know if that's like true for me. Again, when we're kids, our parents' voices or our family's voices become like our inner voice until we get older and start to question it.
Yeah.
Mm. And that's something that I've been trying to do as I get older, even in my walking day life. Like when somebody says something to me, or I usually, and it makes me feel uncomfortable, I ask myself, does it make me feel uncomfortable because somebody took something that I didn't find a problem with myself and made it a problem, made me feel like I should feel uncomfortable about it? Or is this something that has always made me feel uncomfortable? Because then you go into the idea of projection and people will project their
Oh,
insecurities
yes.
on you, especially
Yes.
when you're a
A
young
lot.
child. So
Yep.
I'm trying
Even
to
as
find
an
a way.
adult.
Exactly. So I try to find ways to be like, does it belong to me or does this belong to someone?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm. Absolutely. So I agree with that.
Yeah. I feel like we go through that a lot. I feel like a lot of people project a lot. A lot.
Yes.
A lot. Yeah. And that's
Yes.
something that we have to know what's ours and what's not ours and just give that shit right back. Like, here you know, keep that. Yeah, because that's
Absolutely.
not me. But I feel like now more as an adult, I can say that I'm actually learning to adapt with my triggers because I'm actually on some I don't give a flying fuck what anybody says or feels. It is what it is. I only care about how I feel and oh yeah, that's how you feel. That's awesome. Maybe that's what it is and that's it. I feel like we have to not allow people to get us there because I always heard that that's them taking energy from us. And,
Mhm.
you know, when somebody can trigger you, that's you allowing them to take something from you,
Yes.
which is your peace. So, and now in my adult life, now it's like, oh, well, I'm not going to let you touch my peace. So now is that I'm unbothered. And it's so crazy because I realized being so unbothered and not reacting to a lot of people's, projections and triggers, it actually bothers them that they don't bother you. And it's so hilarious because it's like, why do you want to bother me so much? Is it because you're bothered? Like, no, leave me alone. You can keep that shit.
Wow. That's,
Mhm.
it's been a great conversation, but all right, guys, I think we reached the end of our time.
Oh,
As-
man.
yeah, I think we reached the end of time, but as you know, this is Britt, Ash, thanks for being with us today, thanks for
You're
listening.
listening, guys.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you guys. Thank you for chopping up with me. I am your Sweary therapist, Nadine. Until next time.
As always.
Laters.
Bye.
Bye.
90 wildflower. Talking life, talking truth, taking it slower. Let it grow.